Indiana. There we go. Good morning, Paula. Hello.
Good morning. I'm hearing you well.
That's great. Morning, how are you?
Good. Thank you very much. And you, how is it in Uganda
Okay.
today?
Okay, let's wait for maybe we can start like 5 minutes to allow people to join in and then we can start.
Yes.
And you'll be moderating. I will start by making a welcome to the webinar, and then you take it off. Take it off from there.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we can start. Must be
Great.
having. Yes, please. Let me. Others will join in as we proceed. Thank you.
Will you?
Good morning. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gwendolyn Chobulungi, the coordinator, Water Resources Institute. And I just want to welcome you to our 36th Water Resources Monthly Webinar Series that will always happen on the last Friday of the month. We have the 36th, that we didn't make a webinar in March. I would say in March we had a Water and Environment Week that took part of the discussions and dialogues during that same time of the week. Remember very well the last closing day of the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2026 was on 27th, and there were also dialogues, there were discussions, there were paper presentations. So we thought the March month was also covered under this sharing of information and discussions on issues of water, environment, and climate change. Today, we are privileged to have a webinar organized by the Water Quality Department of Ministry of Water and Environment in partnership with the Boku University, in partnership also with IASA, and also being organized under the Water Resources Institute monthly webinars. And this webinar is mainly going to be focusing on the water quality, but I will not take you through the details of that all, I think, as we will have Madam Lillian, Commissioner of Department of Water Quality Management, that will give us an overview of what this webinar is all about. But we shall also have some presenters, as you've seen on our posters. The presenters are from Ministry of Water and Environment, Water Quality Department, also from the Boku University, and also from our partner, IASA. And we have privileged to have a moderator for this webinar, who is Paula. And Paula has been working closely with us, has been in Uganda several times. And I want to say, was even attended the Uganda Water and Environment Week in March. Yeah, on this note, I want also to introduce to you these webinar presenters. We shall have Judith, we shall have Livingstone, we shall have Ammon, shall have Gabriel, shall have Florius, and this one will be able to be giving us as the moderator takes us through. Otherwise, I just want to welcome you, and I'll hand over to the moderator, Paula, to take over and proceed with the moderation of this webinar series. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you, Paula.
Thank you very much, Gwendolyn, for this passover. So thank you. I'm Paula. I'm with the International Institute of Applied Systems Analysis here at IASA in Austria. And welcome to everyone. We have like approximately 53 participants today. Welcome to our webinar. The topic is From Monitoring to Informed Decisions, Advancing Water Quality Science and Bioassessment for Freshwater Management in Uganda. So this is part of our the SWAQ-Uganda project that Commissioner Lillian will speak a little bit more about it. For today, so we have we'll start with the introductory remarks from Dr. Kalist, followed by Commissioner Lillian with also opening remarks and an overview of the project. And then we'll dive in right away into the speakers. And as Gwendolyn said, we have Livingstone from the Ministry of Water and Environment. We have Judy as well from the ministry as well. We have Amon from the Boku University. Then we have Gabriel, that is also from the Boku University, and Florian from IASA, from the International Institute of Applied System Analysis. So we'll have approximately for the total presentation from the speakers will be approximately 50 minutes. And then we'll have questions and answers and a discussion for approximately 50 minutes as well. And then Dr. Kalist will close up at the end. So thank you very much for being with us, and I hope you enjoy it. Dr. Kalist, I'll pass it on to you.
Paola?
Yes?
I just want to mention that Dr. Kalist won't be doing our opening remarks. He's busy with other activities at the moment. That's why I came in and said, okay, to welcome people onto this the 36 webinar. So you can proceed and call Madame Ria and take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gwendolyn. Yes, so Lillian, please come on board.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Lillian.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible now, although
Yes.
I see my background may not be that clear, but it's okay. I have already been introduced. For those of you who didn't get or who do not know me that well, I'm Idrakoa Lillian. Currently, I head the Department of Water Quality Management as a commissioner. The Department of Water Quality Management, of course, is under the Ministry of Water and Environment in Uganda. I wish to add my voice to the two previous speakers who already welcomed you. I add my voice to welcome you all to this webinar in your various capacities. When I I scrolled through the list of participants. I've seen government officials represented. I see partners in other projects. I have seen Rawlings, whom we partnered with under another project. I have seen, of course, their researchers, private sector, and students. You are all most welcome. I wish in a special way to recognize the presence of Dr. Paul Yilia, who has logged in all the way from Sierra Leone. I'm mentioning Dr. Yilia because he participated at the concept stage of this project. And it is just fair and good to see him to log in to listen to, how the baby he participated in conceiving has grown. So, Paul, welcome in a special way. The project Paul participated in finally was accepted by ADA. We fondly call it SWAQ-Uganda project. That stands for Sustainable Water Quality Management, supporting Uganda's development ambitions. The SWAQ project is funded by the Austrian Development Agency, and there are 3 partners that have been implementing the project. They have already been mentioned, and we have representatives here from all partners. IIASA, the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis in Austria, is one of the partners. We also have University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna, BOKU, and the Ministry of Water and Environment, represented by the Department of Water Quality Management. This is a project that was funded by ADA to a tune of 1.76 million euros. The duration was from 2021 to 2025, but we've had a no-cost extension up to October this year. In Uganda, the project was launched on the 27th of September 2023. This project came on board to support Uganda's development agenda, specifically addressing water resources pollution, which we are all aware, and then background of the extent to the problem of water resources pollution, I think, will be given briefly during the various presentations. The project is supporting Uganda Vision 2040, and it was based on the 3rd National Development Plan, which
So Commissioner Lillian, connection is a bit slow. Let's see if she comes back. So it looks like Gwendolyn, can you see? I think Commissioner Lillian, her connection dropped. No, she's
Okay,
she's
I
back.
think maybe she's back,
She's back, yes.
but she's muted. Madam Lydian, you are muted.
I got muted because it went off.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Apologies
Welcome back.
about
Thank you.
that. I'm just about to conclude. So the project was implemented along 3 objectives. The first objective was or still is improving water quality monitoring and information sharing in Uganda. And then the other objective was to develop a water quality modeling framework for Uganda. The third one was enhancing institutional capacity for water quality management. So all the deliverables, part of which are going to be presented today, are based on these 3 objectives. So with that, I will hand back over to the moderator for us to dive into the presentations, where you'll be informed about the progress of this project and the deliverables which we have been able to achieve during the course of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lilian, and welcome to the other people as well that have joined since. We are 75 participants, 73 participants. I will pass it on now to my colleague, Florian, which will give a brief introduction or some slides about the project as well. Florian is a researcher at IIASA in water quality. So Florian, go ahead.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Thanks.
Yeah, we are all very glad to be presenting in front of you our activities and achievements in the SWAQ-Uganda project so far, and also some kind of context towards the general towards managing water quality in Uganda and how our work is relevant to this. The title of our presentation is From Monitoring to Informed Decisions, Advancing Water Quality Science and Bioassessment for Managing Freshwater in Uganda. All of the implementing partners of the project will be presenting here. This is the general overview of the presentation we will be giving. We will start with a brief introduction with some highlighted activities of the SWAQ-Uganda project. Then we will be going on to present to you monitoring activities in the SWAQ-Uganda project, one of the main components of the project. And there we have a national water quality campaign, which will be presented by Livingstone Mabusi from the ministry. Then we will showcase water quality dashboards, which will be presented by Gabriel Stecher from Boko University. And then we will learn about the introduction of biomonitoring to Uganda, a novel development by Judith Namumbia and Amon Aine from the ministry and from Boko. Then lastly, we will show you some modeling activities that have been going on, where I will be presenting some slides on modeling for decision support. And then my colleague Gabriel will go on to show some scenario modeling for improved water quality in the Mpanga catchment. While lastly, Gabriel will be giving some recommendations. So the commissioner has already introduced the project. I will not go into too much detail now, but the general aim of the project is to contribute to the sustainable management of water resources in Uganda, with the outcomes of improved knowledge and enhanced capacity in water quality management to support policy making and effective water resources management. We have these three main output areas, where in the first we focus on data and monitoring. Then in the second component of the project, we focus on modeling, and in the first also on bioassessment. Then in the second on modeling, and the third component is capacity enhancement. And please let me showcase some key activities that we have been doing from each of these areas. Yeah, the first output area, improving water quality monitoring and information sharing. A lot of activities have been going on here. We started by gathering a lot of data sets from the public domain on different sectors. I think there were over 50 data sets, and we mapped them all onto maps. And they were from the sectors of water, environment, socioeconomic, agriculture, and climate. And they were on the mapping of drivers and pressures. And from this, multiple other activities spanned. So project members developed the National Water Quality Pressure Index, a first of its kind, which kind of gives an overview, a spatial overview over the whole nation on water quality pressures. Then Amon Aine and colleagues developed the eco-regions of Uganda, also a first data set, which has also been published now in 2026. Then a lot of Ugandan rivers have been classified based on bioindicators. And then there are also the dashboards, which we will see later. Yeah, the modeling component is mostly about simulating hydrology and water quality, where we focus on sediments and phosphorus at multiple spatial scales. We have the hydrological boundary from the extended Lake Victoria Basin, and then we have a national model and a case study model. And the national model aims to assess hotspots and long-term trends in water quality, and the case study model aims to improve our process understanding and explore management options. Lastly, many trainings have been going on within the project. Trainings were held on data processing for GIS and water quality, then also for bioassessment in the field and the laboratory, then some database trainings, GIS data processing, and then lastly also trainings on hydrological modeling and also on water quality modeling.
Thank you very much, Florian. The monitoring activities.
Should I not go on with the presentation?
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the monitoring activities in the project are one of the main components of this project, and the overall aim of the monitoring is to improving surface water quality monitoring and information sharing through existing data collection and a consistent monitoring campaign, and also better understanding of the water quality status in Uganda, including the physical, chemical, and ecological status. There were two main campaigns going on: the physico-chemical monitoring, which aimed to produce consistent data sets spanning strategic points in Uganda, and also to enable us to model water quality and hydrology with ground truth data. And the second big component is the biomonitoring, which is undertaken to develop bioindices for Uganda for assessing ecological integrity and to improve the understanding of Ugandan aquatic ecosystem health. And these activities all contribute towards the SDG 6.3 reporting. And I would like to now hand over the presentation to Livingstone, who will be presenting on the National Water Quality Campaign.
Thank you very much, Florian. That's great. Will you move into the next slide? For
Livingstone, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Welcome, Livingstone. So Livingstone is the senior water quality at the Ministry of Water and Environment. Will you introduce yourself briefly, Livingstone?
Yes, thank you, Paula. And good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everyone. I am Livingstone Mabusi. I work with the Ministry of Water and Environment as a senior water analyst. I am going to make a presentation. Basically, my presentation is going to speak about the objectives, the organization and implementation scope of the project activities titled the National Water Quality Campaign. So I'll begin by saying that water quality management in Uganda, we have the Uganda catchment management guidelines that identify lack of water quality data as a big contributor to hindrance of water quality, development of classification of water quality of streams, establishment of environmental quality standards, and assessment of the critical areas for water quality management. On your right, we have a typical water quality monitoring cycle. Water quality management or monitoring involves a number of activities. First, you need to identify the needs, the water quality information it needs. Next, after you've identified the water quality monitoring needs, then you have to develop a strategy to monitor. After development of strategy, you develop a network, a monitoring network. From the monitoring network, you select sites and collect samples. After collecting samples, you take them to the laboratory for analysis. From the laboratory, you generate data. Then you have to make sense out of the data through data analysis. Then you make a report, and from the report, you turn data into information products. So that is a typical water quality monitoring cycle that we go through as part of the water quality monitoring department. I will also point out that the Ministry of Water and Environment, through the sector performance reports, identified inadequate funding for water quality management and lack of water quality telemetric equipment to pick real-time data are some of the challenges that are facing water quality management in Uganda. Next slide, please. I will briefly speak about SDG 6.3. So SDG 6.3 aims to improve the water quality by reducing pollution, eliminating dumping, and minimizing the release of hazardous chemicals. Specifically under indicator 6.3, that's because we are talking about ambient water quality, that's our major interest. That is indicator 6.3.2, which tracks the percentage of water bodies in a country with good ambient water quality. So why does that matter? It matters because it is the mechanism to determine if our efforts to protect and improve water quality are working. But we also must recognize that good ambient water quality is a complex thing. Natural conditions vary greatly in time and space. So water quality is not stagnant. It can vary between time and space. So that's why we need a monitoring program. Next. So what was the scope of the monitoring campaign? We had what we call the physico-chemical campaign. It consisted of temporal and spatial surface water quality monitoring at 47 sites. You can see on the right, there is a map of Uganda that shows all the sites across Uganda. The sites were located fairly across the country, within the Choga Basin, the Victoria Basin, the Albert Basin, the Nile River system. So we had a network of 47 sites on major rivers flowing into and out of Uganda. As you know, most of Uganda's water resources are transboundary. So we had a network of 47 rivers. We were monitoring this. So far we did 12 monitoring rounds. We wanted to know the seasonal variations, both dry and wet seasons, at 31 priority sites. They are what we call priority sites, and then the national catchment case study of Mpanga, which had 16. So this activity was started, the first trip was taken around June 2024. Now we're in June 2026. It means on average, we've been taking this at 2-month period. Although in the beginning we had planned for monthly period intervals. Under the Mpanga case study, we have done 24 monitoring rounds on 16 sites. In total, 750 samples have been collected. And each sample, we do 34 physico-chemical parameters. So we generate for each sample 34 physico-chemical data sets, both the case study and the national monitoring campaign. So we have generated more than 25,000 data points from the assessment so far. Next. How was this operationalized? The monitoring campaign was coordinated through the regional water management offices. Water resources management in Uganda has been decentralized to the lowest catchment the lowest management levels, that is the basin. So we have 4 water management zones across the country. So each of these, Albert is based in Fort Portal. Mbarara, as you know, is in Victoria, is in Mbarara. Choga Water Management Zone is in Mbale, and Upper Nile Water Management Zone is in Lira. So those were the coordination centers for this activity. Each team comprised of a water quality analyst, a hydrological officer to take flow measurements and discharge, and a water quality technician. Across, we had 6 sampling trips. We had 6 trips, like I said, each of the water management zones, plus 1 trip that was based in Entebbe. So we had 6 sampling rounds. We could go send 6 teams at once, and each covered a multiple days to collect the data. Next. During the monitoring, during the implementation of the activity, we had some challenges that we had to overcome. Of course, we had issues of site accessibility, hard to reach areas. Some of the sites could not only be accessed by motorcycles. We have poor terrain, especially in the Rwenzori region. And we had some times when some of the sites could be washed off. The roads could be washed away by the floods, and we had to find a way. We had issues of health and safety. We have some sites on the rivers. For example, at Mbolamuti, we don't have good boats. So you can see the team there on a dangerously poor canoe, but those are the challenges that we do go through as water quality. We have issues of weather, poor weather. We're using IT equipment like laptops. Some of them are not waterproof, so we had phases of delays when the team would encounter bad weather, especially rain. Those are challenges. We also, some of the sites were located not very well for hydrological monitoring, because you can see in the middle there is that ADCP measurement, but there is a floating vegetation over the site. And sometimes we would encounter moving beds, especially on Nyamwamba and Nyamugasani rivers, which would affect the accuracy of the flow or discharge measurements. Then we have some of the sites who had the issues of security. We have a site in upstream in the Rwenzori Mountains, and around 12, that's around October last year, when we were supposed to pick data, there was an IDF attack in the Rwenzori region, so we couldn't. So those are some of the challenges we had to overcome. And some of the sites, especially bordering Congo, you need security clearance, and that takes a lot of time and delays the implementation of the activity. So, Madam Moderator, I think I hand over to the next. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Livingstone. Very interesting. Now we're going to move on to Gabriel Steher from the Boku University, and he's going to talk about the water quality dashboard. Gabriel, you'll introduce yourself.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I can go ahead. Thank you, Paula. Good morning, everybody. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Boku University, from the Institute of Hydrology and Water Management. And my research focuses on eco-hydrology, so combining water management with water quality and hydrology. And thank you, Livingston, for showcasing or showing us the whole monitoring effort. And yeah, based on the whole monitoring effort, within the project, we built a nationwide water quality reporting tool, which we called Information Dashboard. Basically, this dashboard harmonizes all data sets, all water quality parameters we collected and analyzed it within the project and represent all data in a harmonized way. On top of this, we do not only represent the raw data, so each parameter individually, but we also translated them into accessible decision support metrics such as the water quality index or contamination pressure index. And what is very nice and what we think has a huge benefit, especially for dissemination and decision making, is that this whole dashboard is open access and everybody can use it and even download the data. So this is a huge benefit. Next slide, please. So currently we have built the dashboard. It's fully operationally. However, we still plan to add more data to it. We still look for more water quality data from Amon, our colleague, or from Florence, but also a colleague of ours in Kabale collects a lot of water quality data. So we are still planning to integrate all these water quality data into this dashboard. And the whole vision or the overall objective is basically to build a comprehensive national baseline assessment tool for surface water quality of rivers and streams across Uganda. And this should then help to identify pollution hotspots or showcase the variability of water quality. Based on this, decision makers or policymakers can identify priority areas, and it can also provide the evidence for water resources management and policy development. Next slide. So this is how it looks like, and as we said, it's open source. So I think most of you have a smartphone and have a working camera on it. So when you want to visit the dashboard, you can just go ahead and scan the provided QR code, or you can even type the URL, which is provided on the left bottom here. I will just quickly show you the dashboard. Florian, may I? Yeah. This works. Okay, I think now you should be able to see the dashboard, right? So once you open the website, it works like a website. This will be your landing page. You can see all the monitoring data points from our monitoring campaign. And Uganda, you can change the background layer to OpenStreetMap or to satellite for orientation. But I think what is really nice and interesting here is that on the left, we have a drop-down menu. And from this, you can select all the water quality parameters we have analyzed within the project. And you can select, for example, dissolved oxygen levels, right? This is an important parameter for aquatic life. We can immediately see the spatial distribution of dissolved oxygen across Uganda. So across all the monitoring points we have included, we can see the levels. And on top of this, one can even select a river. I'm not sure, maybe we go to the Mount Elgon region, you can zoom in and we select the Manafa River. And you will even get the time series of dissolved oxygen, right? So this is an interactive tool, an interactive dashboard where you can play around, have a look at different water quality parameters themselves, or even like general indices, like the general water quality index, which is ranked from excellent to marginal or poor water quality, combining different individual parameters, and you can immediately see areas in Uganda where we have better and worse water quality. Yeah, so this is basically the dashboard, a very quick introduction. I would really recommend that you can, you play around with it, have a look yourself. And one important thing we can also highlight here is that you have a download button. So if you click on download all data, you can access the data and you have the raw water quality data set on your computer for analysis or for decision making. And you can use it as you like. So yeah, thank you. I think this was the quick introduction. You can always reach out to us if you have questions regarding this water quality dashboard. And I think with this, I hand over to my colleagues Judith and Amon, who will introduce you to the biomonitoring efforts.
If I may quickly, Gabriel, if you could put the link as well in the chat for the dashboard, that would
yes.
be great, so people in the meantime can
I will do it immediately.
In case they didn't have a phone and they do it on the computer, and then we can have a discussion. So the other thing I wanted to say before Judith comes on board is that we have some questions in the chat, and if that's okay, we'll address them at the discussion time, so after the presenters. Thank you very much. Judith, please come along and introduce yourself. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. My name is Judith Namumbia. I work for the Ministry of Water and Environment as a water analyst. And I'm going to introduce the first segment of the biomonitoring component. So let's first talk about health. Normally, when you go for a medical checkup, usually the doctor would like to find out probably results from your blood sample. He will ask for a pulse result. He will take your body, he will ask for results for your body temperature, your breathing rate, your heartbeat. And normally when a urinalysis sample is asked for to find out how are your organs in the body functioning. And the essence of that is to determine if your health is okay. In case your health is not okay, the doctor will make a prescription to address the ailment for you to get back to the normal state. And so that applies to river systems. River systems are supposed to be healthy, and the health of a river system is determined by many variables. We look at the flow. When you look at the picture on the right, that river stretch has different flow variations. We have waters that are flowing very fast, and others sections have waters that are still, and other sections have low flowing velocities. Then we look at different habitats, which are made up of the geology, partly by the geology of the riverbed. We look at the different rock sizes. If you look at that stretch, similarly, it has different rock sizes. And if you walk through this river, you would meet stones of varying sizes. And within this river, there is life, there is fish, there is bacteria, there are small plants within the river. And there is also water. We also need to establish the quality of this water. What is the pH of this water? What is its temperature? What is the oxygen like? And is it able to support the different organisms within the river? Next slide, please. So that is what brings us to biomonitoring. How do we determine the river health? We use living organisms within water to determine river health because we are able to measure these organisms to establish the changes in the river systems. And why is that? So these organisms are used as bioindicators because they have different sensitivities to different environmental degradation. And because these bioindicators are measurable, they are used to develop what we call indices. Things like abundance, how much do we have? Things like richness, how many organisms are there? Things like diversity and other indices. And some of the organisms that are in water, we have the fish, we have the macroinvertebrates, we have macrophytes, which are the aquatic plants, we have the phytobenthos, which are small photosynthetic plants that stay on the riverbed, and we have phytoplankton too. Next slide, please. So why biomonitoring? Why should we integrate the current assessment method with biomonitoring? It's because with biomonitoring, we look beyond water chemistry. We are able to measure the health of these rivers. We are able to determine the different homes in the rivers or the different habitats where these organisms stay. And with biomonitoring, we are able to monitor long-term impacts. We are able to see different forms of degradation within the river. We are able to see degradation like organic pollution, acidification, land use changes, impacts due to land use changes, hydromorphological changes, how is the velocity of water varying, and the change in the sediment patterns within the riverbed. And still biomonitoring can be used as an early warning tool, because when we move out to monitor, we are able to see how these organisms are changing within the river system, and that is an indicator that something could be happening. Why are organisms that were once living in a given section disappearing? And the other thing is biomonitoring can also contribute. It contributes to the attainment of Sustainable Development Goal 6. With health river systems, we are able to have water of satisfactory quality for various uses, and we are also able to establish the ecological health of river systems, and in a way, we also support the attainment of other water-related ecosystems. Next slide, please. So, bioindicators and what are they commonly used to detect? As previously mentioned, these bioindicators, which are within the river systems, are used to detect different forms of pollution, eutrophication, changes in land use, hydromorphological changes, degradation in habitats. Those are the homes where these organisms do stay in the river, and general forms of degradation. So as you can see in this picture, we have different macroinvertebrates, different organisms. We have macroinvertebrates, we have fish, we have the macrophytes. But when you look at the pattern, there are some that decrease in size and some that maintain their size. So the ones that decrease in size, for example, the second one for land use, it decreases because it's not the suitable indicator to detect land use changes, and it doesn't detect well changes in hydromorphology within a river system. But for purposes of the SWAQ project, macroinvertebrates were selected to be used for biomonitoring to show us the health of the river systems in Uganda, because they can be used to detect eutrophication, changes in land use, hydromorphological degradation in our rivers, things like sedimentation, increase in sedimentation. We can detect them with macroinvertebrates, changes in the different habitats and other forms of degradation like acidification and so many others. And why were they selected? It's because they are very many. We have very many groups. We have water insects, we have snails, we have the crabs. There are so many. And these macroinvertebrates are also widely distributed there, and they're also easy to identify, but that is at a higher level of identification. With fine level of identification, one needs to be trained, and they have different sensitivities to different stressors or different types of degradation. Some macroinvertebrates are highly tolerant to pollution, and others are very sensitive to pollution. And they are also localized. They are found in particular sections, meaning they can show us pollution at that particular time because they don't move far from their specialized niches. And these macroinvertebrates have a long lifespan. Their aquatic stages, for example, the water insects, those are the mayflies, the stoneflies, they can spend a long time in water. Their larval stages and the nymph stages spend a long time in water to mature, and those other stages we look at to establish the health of river systems. And the other thing why these macroinvertebrates were selected, it's because they are central in the aquatic food web, that is who eats who. So they contribute to food in the river systems, and they are also well studied. They have been used to develop so many indices around the world to determine river health. Next slide, please. So in biomonitoring, classification or taxonomy is very, very important. It is the core of having functional bioassessment programs. Why? We need to know what we have, but at the same time, we need to be in position to identify these macroinvertebrates very well. Because if we make wrong identifications, then we stand at risk of developing wrong tools to determine river health, which may further lead to degradation because we are wrongly identifying them and thus developing wrong tools. So what do we use to identify these macroinvertebrates? We look at different morphological features, different physical features that enable us categorize the ones that have similar features together. And so from the SWAQ project, we have been able to identify 125 taxa to family and genus level, and we have been able to take taxonomic photographs for identifying all these taxa, most of the taxa that were identified from the different river systems. And from the taxonomic data, we are going to conduct indicator taxa analysis for pollution and morphological degradation. And at the same time, the taxa that were identified are going to be used to develop a screening key to support identification of taxa from our river systems. And lastly, we are also developing a key for Trichoptera in Uganda and those other caddis flies. Thank you very much. Over to you, Amon.
Thank you very much, Judith, for that introduction into bioassessment and the concepts behind it. I'll go further with some of the works that have been done under the SWAQ project, starting with this status review of bioassessment within the Afrotropical region. But of course, starting from Uganda, we do not have so much already done across the Afrotropical region, so we had to combine for us to come up with a good view of the different studies that have been done. And as you can see, there are several studies, some developing bioassessment methods, others just testing ecological integrity in river systems using macroinvertebrates specifically. Like Judith said, we could use fish, we could use any other, but macroinvertebrates are the most widely used and also studied in Afrotropical regions. But as we can see here, the different countries that we looked at had different equipment that were used, identification levels were different, the indices used are borrowed indices because we don't have localized indices, the net sizes are different, the net sizes for collecting the macroinvertebrates, and then the stressors that are being detected are also different. So without standardization, it's difficult to adopt bioassessment into a national or even regional level policy. And so next slide. So given that background, the status of bioassessment, we have done some sampling already under SWAQ. And in developing an assessment method, we have to look at the natural state of a system and compare it to the current state or a disturbed state. So next, please. Under the SWAQ project, we have sampled several rivers from different regions, 6 regions. And as you can see, the Rwenzori area has been sampled, Kigezi Central within Kampala, where we have a lot of degradation from urbanization and multiple stressors. The Albertine region, the West Nile, specifically Zombo area, and Mount Elgon. Next, please. And with this, we've sampled over 50 streams and rivers with 128 samples collected on each of these stretches of rivers. We sampled macroinvertebrates, we measured hydromorphological parameters, we collected and analyzed physico-chemical parameters, and also recorded the sources of degradation because it's important what the source of degradation is. Next, please. The sampling and sampling processes, you see teams in different river stretches taking macroinvertebrate samples. In the photo, we see that samples were being collected and also The field team was trying to observe the macroinvertebrates that were easily identifiable in the field, which literally should be, if we are to have a policy level, someone at the district or local government should be able to identify without having to go to the lab. But at this stage, the SWAQ project is also developing a bioassessment method, so we have to be critical and identify to detail. That's why we do lab work, as you see in the lower bottom photos. That is lab work being done to develop the bioassessment method from the samples collected. Next, please. And like Judith, the area presenter, showed, the river systems are highly diverse in terms of the substrate, in terms of the water quality, and so much more. She showed only one stretch that was characteristic, but when you move around river systems, if any, which I think most of us have seen river systems, they differ in the different characteristics. Some are dynamic. For example, the river Nyamwamba has a very high turnover on a seasonal basis. We have the stable streams, which have less turnover. These are usually in the highlands as well. We have the bedrock streams. We have lowland streams in the wetland areas, like towards lakes like Lake Albert in the flat areas. We have forested streams. We have streams like, we have rivers like River Ruizi, which is forming wetlands along its path. And all these characteristics create different habitats. And so naturally, these rivers will have different animals. If you go to sample them, you need to know what you expect in that river in a natural state before you say the river is actually polluted or degraded. Next. So looking at the diversity of the sites that we have visited across Uganda, rivers are part of the terrestrial environment. So we had to think of how can we easily group them for us to think of a national level policy for bioassessment. How can we group them? We thought we needed to think about the biogeographical stratification. So we did ecoregions. This is these are maps of ecoregions and bioregions. So Uganda was divided into 5 major ecoregions and then subdivided into bioregions. This map is developed for stratification or for grouping of rivers across the country, but it can also be used for other biological stratification. It could be forests. It was developed based on potential natural vegetation of Uganda. So the article is available also. Next. And in developing a bioassessment, please, there are animations you can continue. In developing a bioassessment method, like earlier said, the goal is to be able to rank our rivers. If I go to a stretch in a river within, let's say, Jinja, and I pick a sample of macroinvertebrates, I should be able to rank it and say this is moderately disturbed, this is poor or bad. That is the whole intention. And so, next, please. So we need to develop an index, and an index is a combination of different metrics. Like Judith said, different macroinvertebrate communities or taxa react differently to degradation. For example, you may find the richness of the number of different taxa in a river system are decreasing as a result of, say, organic pollution. While a certain taxa, like the chironomids, for those who, these are small other worms, small worms that live in the river system, they are favored by degradation. So for them, they will increase in abundance. So the diversity, those that can't tolerate have decreased, but those that can tolerate have increased. So there are different metrics. These are metrics. So we can have several metrics, 30 plus, that we calculate, and then we combine them into indices. And those indices, next slide, please. And those indices, so we start with the metrics, we score the metrics and come up with an an aggregated score from the metrics and then develop an index, which index is used to do the ranking. So this is background work that is ongoing under SWAQ, and of course we shall be pleased to present it in the future when it is complete. Next slide. Next, please, next. So what is the take-home message from the bioassessment? The SWAQ project targets to develop a macroinvertebrate-based bioassessment, but developing an assessment method or coming up with a policy-level bioassessment method needs us to understand the natural diversity of river systems across the country. SWAQ has delineated ecoregions and bioregions of Uganda, and over 120 plus reaches from 6 regions of Uganda have been assessed. That is without the subregions of Karamoja and northern Uganda, which there are plans to go to in the next phases. And SWAQ is analyzing benthic invertebrates to determine indicator taxa and develop identification keys. So with this, I come to the end of the presentation on bioassessment, and back to you, Paula.
Thank you very much, Amon. And just quickly wanted you to introduce yourself. You didn't say what you're doing right now. I mean,
sure.
Where you are at, your affiliation.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Amon Aine. I am a PhD scholar at Boko University, affiliated with Chambogo as the host university in Uganda. And part of the SWAQ project for this.
Thank you so much, Amon. It's a very interesting work that you're doing there. So thanks. So yes, we can move. If you'd like to move to the next slide, we can move to the monitoring. Just one moment. Sorry, I'm just here. So we can move to the modeling activities in the SWAQ-Uganda. So this is going to be presented both by Florian and by Gabriel. Florian is going to present the modeling for decision support. And Gabriel is going to talk to us about the scenario modeling for improved water quality in the Mpanga catchment. Thank you. Go ahead, Florian.
Yeah, thank you, Paula, and thank you, Judith and Amon, for these very interesting and enlightening slides about biomonitoring. We want to shift the topic now a little bit from monitoring to modeling. Highlight some scenario and decision support capabilities of the combination of the two. So the 4th National Development Plan identifies degradation of water catchments and inadequate hydrological data and weak monitoring capacity as a core constraint on water security in Uganda. And modeling aims to provide what monitoring cannot provide alone, which is a spatially continuous, scenario-capable, and future-facing evidence to support management. So the combination of monitoring and modeling enables us to provide decision support, but without monitoring and ground truth data, we cannot set up our models and we cannot make the models useful. So on the right-hand side, we see different spatial domains of our models for this project. In gray, we have the extended Lake Victoria Basin, which is the hydrological boundary, and it contains all catchments where water flows into Uganda. And then we have a national model for Uganda, which you can see in purple. And then we also have a Mpanga case study model, which you can see in deeper purple in the southwest. So I want to talk a little bit about what modeling actually is. Models are computer programs that are used to simulate natural processes with the aim to increase our understanding of these processes and also to inform land and water management. So following these images, we can simulate and estimate hill slope erosion from agricultural plots. Then we are also simulating the process of transport to surface water. Then we can estimate total phosphorus and suspended sediment concentration, suspended solid concentration in rivers and lakes. Then we are also considering the in-stream transport of these pollutants or these constituents alongside the river network. And lastly, we are also looking at lakes, so phosphorus and TSS loadings and the concentration in lakes. So how can modeling support sustainable growth? The tenfold growth strategy in Uganda strives towards a 5 times increase in PIMA commodity volume, so coffee, tea, cotton, cassava, maize, oil, palm, dairy, beef, and fish production, a 5 times increase, and also a 20 billion agro-industrial export target. And these very ambitious targets require multiple measures to be taken. So land reform, which is about fast-tracking land registration and addressing the fragmentation. Then agricultural intensification, which means the introduction of modern agronomic practices, mechanization, commercial farming at the industrial scale. Then irrigation expansion is needed to enable all-year production and close the yield gap. And also more fertilization will be needed to close the yield gaps. And so now the challenge is, how can this transformation be delivered while safeguarding safe access to water for households and communities, while protecting fisheries and lakes from eutrophication driven by agricultural runoff. And also it is important to navigate the trade-offs between domestic water supply, hydropower, and irrigation. Because if we take out water of the river systems for irrigation, the water might be lacking in other areas. So these questions cannot be answered by targets alone, but we need quantitative and spatially explicit evidence at the catchment and the national scale to kind of navigate this tension. So how can models create evidence for these informed decisions? Models can simulate hydrology and the water balance, and they can quantify the water availability under current irrigation schemes, but they can also estimate the water availability under future irrigation. So we can basically test with the model how much water will be available for the different sectors if we increase irrigation. And we can then make informed decisions about the trade-offs between domestic hydropower and irrigation. Furthermore, we can consider nutrient loading and lake water quality to assess the risk of fertilizer application to fisheries, for example, in Lake Victoria by fish kills from eutrophication, and we can also explore mitigation strategies. Furthermore, we can look at soil erosion and sedimentation, identify hotspots under changing land use, also change in soil erosion under cropping practices, and we can quantify the effectiveness of soil and water protection measures. Lastly, wetlands are a huge topic in Uganda. They are part of the national identity. They are a beautiful natural landscape feature. And they also provide regulation services for water quantity and water quality, and representing wetlands in models as active hydrological and biogeochemical buffers can quantify the benefits of wetland protection and also of wetland restoration. And with these generated evidence, these measures can be undertaken. And all of these can be then regarded under future climate change, which of course introduces a lot of uncertainty. So we have taken first humble steps towards those goals by looking at how land use, how agricultural practices can influence water quality. And for this, local knowledge is key for our modeling efforts and scenarios. So on the bottom left, we see a stakeholder workshop in Fort Portal, where many stakeholders from the Mpanga catchment informed us and shared their knowledge and their expertise on the soil and water conservation practices that are in use in the different catchment regions. This knowledge was then translated into data for modeling use. So we can now feed this in Gabriel, who is working on the case study, can now feed this information into the model and test the effect of soil and water conservation practice on cropping practices on water quality. And then we can also upscale this knowledge to the national scale and see what is going on there. And I will now hand it over to Gabriel, who will show you his results from the Mpanga catchment. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Florian, for the nice introduction. Now we will show you the Mpanga case study area as an example of how we can use model and monitoring data for decision making, right? This is what Florian said. So this is the benefit of having models. Generally, I think most of you will know the Mpanga catchment. It's situated in the southwest of Uganda. Mpanga originates in the Rwenzori Mountains. And what is important, it also provides the water supply of the major towns in catchment, Port Portal, Kamwenga, and Ipanda. At the same time, the whole catchment faces land degradation and water quality deterioration. And these are mostly linked to unsustainable land use practices, wetland degradation, deforestation, but there is also sand and gravel mining going on. And another threat to water quality, which is also mentioned, is urban waste discharge, but this is the thing we cannot model in our computer setup. And also the catchment management plan of Mpanga lists some interventions such as the promotion of sustainable and agricultural land use management practices, the development of a soil and water conservation plan, and doing all this basically with multi-stakeholder coordination. So this is basically the problem statement in the Mpanga catchment, and therefore we selected this as a case study area for the SWAQ-Uganda project. Next slide, Florian. So we talked a lot about monitoring before, and for every kind of computer model, we need monitoring data, right? So this is basically linking the monitoring campaign with our modeling and decision-making tool. Because no matter which kind of model you will be using, you need ground truth data. You need measurements from the water quality, in our case, from the environment. Because every model can be just as good as your monitoring data. And to run models or to apply models, you need to calibrate them to fit the reality as good as possible, right? And on the right-hand side, you can see some example data of discharge and total phosphorus load in the Mpanga. And what we try to do during calibration is to fit the model outputs as good to the reality, to the observations as we can. Next slide, Florian. And then you might get a result like this, right? So these are the model outputs. You can see, okay, generally the patterns match the observations very well. And then you can get confidence in your model. And once you have established a calibrated and confident model, we can implement scenarios and play around with management practices, which can inform policies or interventions, right? And this is what we have done with the Mpanga. So we use the stakeholder-informed management practices. Next slide, Florian. Where we derive together with stakeholders from the ministry, from the local water management zone, from the catchment management committee, with agricultural officers in the area, we derived the scenario for improved agricultural conservation, which means basically within our model, we have implemented wetlands, like wetland restoration scenario. In our case, we increased the wetlands by 10,000 hectares, and we also increased the agricultural management practices such as terraces, trenches, mulching, and this kind of activities to see how this will affect water quality, right? So this is basically our management scenario. Next slide, Florian. So this is the current status, and this is the current status of total suspended solids and total phosphorus loads in the Mpanga, right? And the colorful lines show the scenario. And what we can definitely see is that when we have improved conservation represented by wetland restoration and improved agricultural practices, we can reduce suspended solids, basically soil erosion and land degradation, but we can also reduce the phosphorus loads in our rivers, in this case the Mpanga, which will then drain into Lake George and might reduce the risk of eutrophication and might also reduce the costs of water supply, right? If we have less suspended solids, less sand in our river, which we use as a water supply, this will reduce the costs of the purification. So we can see a very strong benefits of wetland restoration and conservation uptake in the Mpanga, especially when we look at suspended solid reduction. And this is basically, one example of how we can use a model to inform decision-making, in this case for the Mpanga catchment. But within the project, we also run a nationwide model and also implement scenarios to also guide nationwide policies. I think this is the example. And now we can move on to the recommendations, Florian. So I have now the honor to sum up everything and to give you some recommendations of the webinar. And I think we do it focusing on the monitoring. And what we have learned today is that biomonitoring is key for establishing the river health and to have a holistic overview of the water quality of your river system, right? So it's very important. We cannot conserve what we don't know. At the same time, the biomonitoring effort can also introduce or support SDG reporting, which is very important. And I think what we have not mentioned so far is that biomonitoring can also involve the communities, local communities living with the rivers, and work with them through citizen science projects, right? At the same time, we still need to develop the biomonitoring frameworks and the capacities within the ministry, but in the framework of the SWAQ project, we will establish that. And we still need to develop protocol and standardized reporting protocols. And what is also important, biomonitoring frameworks, they need continuous improvements, right? Because we are working with the environment and the environment might be changing. So we need to improve them continuously. Next slide, Florian. So consistent water quality monitoring, whether it's biomonitoring or physico-chemical monitoring, is key for understanding the current status, is key for any management decision, is key for deriving catchment management plans, and it's very important to take decisions in the end, right? Because in the end, we want to improve, in our case, water resources and water quality, but this, of course, affects health problems, public health, the access to safe water, and fisheries, and so on. So with our efforts within the SWAQ project, we also support the National Development Plan 4, and we also support existing obligations under the Water Act and under the Environmental Act to monitor resources, environmental resources, and water resources. Because in the end, I think this is the take-home message of the whole webinar. We cannot manage what we don't measure, right? We need information to take management decisions. And I think with this, in the name of all presenters today, I want to thank you. And we're very much looking forward to a lively discussion and to your questions. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for finishing up the presentation, and thank you very much to all the presenters. It was very good. It's 20 minutes after the hour, so we can have 20 to 30 minutes, if that's okay with all the participants, for questions and a discussion. Before we move on to discussion, I really want to thank you so much, the Ministry of Water and Environment. They have really been involved in this project. We've had approximately from all different areas of the department approximately 50 people have been involved in this project from the Ministry of Water and Environment. So I really, this project could have not been carried on without the ministry. And I'm sure Lillian can also have some more comments. And I want to quickly also introduce our national project focal point at the ministry, and that's Luis Mugisha, who has been coordinating all the aspects of the project in Uganda. So thank you very much for that. Lillian, before we move into the discussion, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Paula, and thank you to all the presenters. Maybe just to add to the introductions of those who have been able to attend. I think among the presenters, Judith Namumbia, you did not introduce yourself properly. Judith was introduced as a water in the webinar page that was shared. She was introduced as a water analyst at the Ministry of Water and Environment. I would like to add, Judith is also doing the work she presented as a PhD student at Boko University. There are a number of other participants in this webinar, maybe in addition to Luis Mugisha, who was introduced. I really want to also appreciate the laboratory staff who have been able to log in, because all these outputs would not have been possible without data collection from the ministry staff, both the staff of the Department of Water Quality Management and some staff from the Monitoring and Assessment Department who took the discharge measurements. I think many of you are professionals here. We do not only talk about concentrations when it comes to pollution. It's important to talk about the pollution loads, and we can't do that without the discharge measurements. So I really want to recognize and appreciate the efforts of all the staff from the Department of Water Quality Management under the guidance of the Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Matovu Abdallah, who is also present here. And then some team leaders. I have seen Maximo. I have seen regional water quality staff members, both from Fort Portal, staff from Albert Water Management Zone, and a number of others, without whose effort this webinar would not have been possible today. So I really want to appreciate and acknowledge that. Now, just one comment I would like to make with respect to one of the presentations, that water resources management has been decentralized. No. Water resources management in Uganda is still a central function. What we have done is deconcentration of some of the activities to the 4 water management zones, as well as the 4 regional laboratories in each of those management zones. So water resources management has remained a central function of government, but we have those deconcentrated structures to ease data collection and for coordination of the work at the lowest possible level, which for now is at the regional levels. We haven't moved to the local governments and handed over functions of water resources management to them. So there is a difference between deconcentration and decentralization, and I really wanted to make that clear to all the participants so that we do not go with misinformation. Thank you very much. Paula, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me. Thank you very much, Lillian, for your comments. This is very good. And thank you again to all the presenters. Now we can move to the discussion. And if you would like to ask a question, do please raise your hand. Perhaps we could start with some of the people that wrote questions in the chat a little while ago. If that's okay, and then we can move to the hands that have been raised. So we have one question, and when you reply or when you ask a question, kindly please say your name and as well your affiliation. So we have one question, I think is the first one we have from Nathan Sekito. It's about, and his inquiry is about the instrumentation use and the pollutants that you were focusing on, also how someone can join this project. Thank you so much for this session. Nathan, are you still in the webinar? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Yes. It's afternoon here in Uganda.
So you had a question about the instrumentation use and the pollutants that we're focused on. Would you like to add anything to your question, or shall we move to the response?
Nothing I would like to add as per now.
Great. Thank you. Who would like to respond to that?
I could respond to that. I think it came during the bioassessment. Thank you very much, Nathan. So, based on the stage of the process, so in the field, we are using a handheld net. They are very simple equipment that we use for correcting macroinvertebrates. The method we are using is a kick sampling method. As you saw in the earlier photos, people were standing within the river. So the method we are using cannot be used for, say, River Nile, because that's deep. Those are different methods and maybe different bioindicators like fish for such. So here we are using handheld nets. We are washing the samples through the net, and we are taking the samples to the lab for like observation and preserving them and getting taxalists identification. And then the I don't know if you mean the polluters, like the institutions or the people, or you mean the pollutants, as in the degradation factors. And the question, you can give me clarity on that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ine. Actually, I was inquiring about the pollutants that we focused on, for the pollutants, there are very many. And
Yes.
also the pollutants and also the instrumentation that you are using. I thank you for clarifying the methods that you're using. Now I'm requesting to know the pollutants.
So for these animals, mainly they react to changes in their habitat. And the main changes of focus is the organic pollution, or like organic input into the river system, which will change the chemistry and so much more. And also sedimentation, degradation as a result of sedimentation. If you have agriculture, it causes sedimentation, so it reduces the habitats in the river systems. So this is grouping the different degradation into major groups. So it is organic pollution and sedimentation as a change of. And how to join the project? For sure, we are open. Depending on what you're doing, we can always have a discussion. on how to collaborate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Amon. Thank you for that question. I think we can move to another question that was in the chat, and then we'll go to the raised questions. We have, sorry, Lillian, you have raised your hands.
Maybe just to add, I don't know if that question was only directed for the bioassessment, but generally, I think under the project, we looked at other, the development of the water quality pressure index actually looks at other sources of pollution. So I don't know if we can share a link to the water quality pressure index. I think the map Gabriel shared, if somebody accessed, you'll be able to see. So we didn't just look at sedimentation and but the water quality pressure index tried to identify other sources of pollution throughout the country, actually. But for the lab work, we also looked at, although it is not part of the project, but we also, in those samples, we also looked at toxic metals, because those are important also for the, survival of the organisms in the river system, so for the river health. So we really did, like it was presented, we had a big scope of analysis in the lab, not really limited to the 34 under the project. Now, with respect to participation in the project, unfortunately, I think this project is coming to a close very soon in October. But we are going to also have a dissemination workshop in September. So between now and that time, you're welcome to just get in touch with maybe the Ministry of Water to see how you can contribute to really improving to improving these deliverables. I think at this point, we may not be able to introduce new ideas, but new ideas will also be very important for our follow-up phase. So kindly get in touch with the focal point officer. Maybe Louis, you can put your email address in the chat for people to follow through later if they have any other questions or comments, or how they would want to contribute to the finalization of this phase, but also contribute ideas for any other follow-up project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll move to another question from the chat. We have a few questions that are coming through. So we have a question from Christine Bossa. Christine, I wonder if you're still around. I have a small question. Does the monitoring cycle include feedback to stakeholders where the water resource exists, lake, river, and their expected actions to protect the resources? Christine, are you still in here? And otherwise, we can go, who would like to answer that question? It's about the monitoring cycle. Gabriel or Florian or Lillian?
Yeah, maybe I can go ahead.
Okay.
The monitoring cycle, I think, for the physico-chemical monitoring, which we have prepared for the slide, does not include stakeholder information per se, but it's somewhat, very important, of course. However, like when the water quality monitoring, right, Livingston described how we take samples, how it is transported to the lab. It is somewhat included as a soft information, but taking the samples, analyzing the samples for water quality might take a few weeks, a few days, few weeks, and water quality might have even changed until you get back to the stakeholders to report the results. So as far as I know, I think Livingston will comment on this as well. We do not directly feed the results back to the stakeholders on the ground for each sample taken. But once we have a general picture, but yeah, Livingston, please.
Go ahead, Livingston. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to compliment what my colleague has said. For us, especially in Uganda, the monitoring cycle depends on the monitoring objective. For example, we have monitoring for compliance to standards. It could be drinking water or environmental discharge standards. So when we do that, then we do provide feedback to the communities, to the stakeholders. For example, if I am monitoring for compliance for discharge for an industrial effluent facility, we pick the sample and then afterwards we engage the facility that is discharging. We share our findings with them and we find ways how to improve. If it is a drinking water supply, we provide feedback back to the utilities that are providing the drinking water to the communities. So it is done to improve compliance and to assess standards. So we work with the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope, Christine, the question was answered for you. Thank you, Livingstone. That's good. We'll move to a question that from Paul Yilia. Welcome, Paul Yilia. Paul Yilia used to work at YASA, so it's very, very great to see you here. Thanks. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Paula. It's great to see you also. After so many years, I think 5 years already going. It's great to see you. It's also great to hear Lillian and to see Lillian. And thanks, Lillian, for that special invitation. I deeply appreciate that you thought of me and sent me an invitation. And I'm really happy to join because it's like coming back home. Yeah, water has always been at the heart of what I do. I have moved on a little bit. My name is Paul Yilia. I work now as manager and chief of operations for a local NGO in Sierra Leone, which I co-founded. We deliver solutions for lighting solutions for healthcare facilities and improve livelihoods in rural communities. But I also work in the office of the president and I lead the Climate Finance and Energy Innovation Hub. The question I have has to do also with the history. Yeah, I happen to work at the Vienna University of Technology just before I joined YASA in 2012. We led a work to develop international water quality guidelines with the help of UNEP. That had a very huge ambition at the time. Actually, they even talked of standards, environmental water quality standards, and not guidelines. We advised them that they water down the objective to guidelines, but the cost of doing that was prohibitive. And they later watered down the objective into guidelines to support governments to develop their own guidelines. But I'm really impressed to see the result of this work. By the way, this project, we started also the initial conversations just before I left YASA. And it's really great to see the results that are coming out. But I miss one thing. And again, I'm saying this because of where I am now. I sit in places now where I interact with funders, I interact with people in policy. When researchers report, they concentrate a lot on the information and not the cost of getting that information. And if you are in policy, if you are funding any initiative, you want to know the cost. So what you did for Uganda, what has been done for Uganda through this work is amazing. The number of students that have been trained, capacity enhancement, the information that is generated. But what I miss in all this conversation is the cost of doing that. And I mean, it's a difficult question because I know when we develop this type of things, initially we put cost to it, but when we are reporting, we leave out those costs. But if I want to advise, the Ministry of Water Resources here in Sierra Leone or anywhere else in the world, that this work is good and it has been done, I'm sure they are going to ask me what the price tag is. And I want to throw that question in the mix. What did it cost to have that nice water quality map that Gabriel presented? What does it cost to build all that capacity, those PhDs, those MSCs? What does it cost to do the microinvertebrate assessment? Can someone put a price tag to it? If not today, but maybe I want to see that in the reports. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for your questions. I think Lillian has raised her hand, so she will provide an answer.
Yes, thank you, Paul, and good to see you, like I mentioned earlier. The price tag to this, in my opening remarks or overview of the project, I mentioned this project cost is 1.76 million euros over a 3-year period. But I can quickly add most of the work that were done on the ground here in Uganda was an in-kind contribution, which really, if monetized, would take this project cost to more than 2 million already. Because the staff that contributed to collecting the data and the lab work are being paid by government of Uganda, and they are not receiving any additional payments or what from the project, apart from some DSAs when they go to the field. So really, if we add up all that, the cost would be more than 2 million euros for this humble work. And also among the in-kind contribution, like transportation, was not factored in the project. And so if you factor in even the cost of a vehicle, just one vehicle for data collection, then we are already talking about maybe 3 million euros over the 3-year period. So that I think would give you a good impression of what the project has, what it has cost the project to implement all these activities. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Lillian. Let's move on to some of the questions from the chat. We have one question regarding the dashboard. How will you know the date of the different results you can view in the dashboard? Gabriel, that's for you.
Yes, thank you for the question. I have seen it before. So I will just quickly share my screen again to show the dashboard. So as before, here we have the dashboard, and now we selected dissolved oxygen, right? We can even select pH, which is another very important parameter. And the map, which is presented here, will give you the average value of all the dates we sampled pH at one site. For example, if you click here, you get the time series, and it will say, okay, the first sample was taken on February 21st, 2024, right? So you get the time series. The next sample is July 5th, and so on. So you get really the date of the analysis for each of the parameters. So this is how you get the date, basically, through the time series. And if you download the data, it will be downloaded as a time series. So for each data entry point, you will also know the exact date for all the different parameters, right? So this is how you will know, basically. But this is still somewhat under development, the whole dashboard. So I would really encourage all of you, if you're interested in water quality data, have a look. We have shared the link in the chat. And I think the whole webinar is also recorded and will be shared. So you can always go back to the link of the dashboard and have a look. And I would really appreciate some feedback. You know, if you're interested in water quality, you can have a look at the dashboard, even only at the usability. I would invite all of you to give us feedback because it's still under development and we can still change a few things. I hope this has answered the question.
Thank you for the answer, Gabriel. And the question was from Annette. Thank you. There's another question or a few questions from Rolling Akamania, sorry. And so he has some question. I'll start them and maybe Rolling, you can come in as well if you want to clarify anything. So we have, how is the generated data being integrated for decision-making within the device? He has another question, post the program, how is the program prepare the ministry to sustainably continue by monitoring for ambient water quality? And another question he has is, any hint from the data on the extent to which pollution of water bodies is impacting potable water access? So there's three questions there. Judith or anyone else that hasn't spoken yet or replied to the answers?
Hello.
Hi, Judith. If there are any of those questions you can answer.
Yes, please. I will answer question number 2 and 3. The SWAQ project has prepared the Ministry for Sustainability of Biomonitoring within the ministry by setting up a biomonitoring unit in Entebbe. Our biomonitoring laboratory has been set up and it is fully equipped with lab equipment. We have the microscopes for identification of these macroinvertebrates. We also have the field sampling equipment. We have the nets. We have everything that is required to undertake the sampling. So, and another step that has been taken is the project has also trained part of us who are working within the ministry to be able to pass on the knowledge to others within the ministry, within the department that is handling biomonitoring in particular. Then any hint from the data? So far, not yet, because we have just finalized validating our taxa list. So we are going to begin the statistics to find out which river systems are highly polluted. And like the commissioner said earlier on, for the winding up meeting or workshop of the project, I'm sure part of those results will be disseminated to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judith. Thank you. Is anyone would like to answer the first question? How is generated data being integrated for decision-making within waste? I don't know if Livingstone or Disan is around, or Lillian. or Florian?
Paula, I think Rawlings, we are discussing with both IASA and Boko about how all the data and all the information that has been generated, those nice model results that are currently sitting on databases under Boku or IASA could be transferred. Okay, not maybe shared with the ministry as one of the partners, so that, after the closure of the project, the ministry and all interested stakeholders will have access to all this work. And definitely it's going to be part of WIS, but also it is going to be on the National Water Quality Management database of the Department of Water Quality. So yes, there are plans to have all this information made available to all stakeholders in Uganda. Question, maybe if I can just add also to question number 3. I mentioned about the water quality pressure index and those reports. They clearly indicate the sources of pollution. And Rawlings, you're aware, potable water in the rural areas is mainly from groundwater sources. And pollution sources have been identified that really impact also on the sources of potable water, groundwater, potable water, but also sources that impact on surface waters and therefore affect, the treatability of surface water for purposes of drinking water supply. Yeah, so yes, we have hints already from the project results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. I think we'll go for another 6 minutes and then we'll close on the hour. We have another question here from Samuel Vivian Matagi. So for the first, I think the question 1 and 2, I think those was already answered, but we have a question on sediment load. Samuel says, sediment load is the single most unreported water quality parameter in Uganda and the world, yet it is the single most parameter that exhibits catchment degradation by agriculture, urbanization, population growth, and industrialization. Sorry, there wasn't, okay, it was just a statement. There was no question there. And your questions regarding contributing to the project and access of the reports, that was also answered by Commissioner Lillian, that will be available.
Yes, Paula, if I may, I don't know, even though it was not a specific question, but sediment loads, you're completely right. Usually they are not reported. Usually we report concentration. I think Lillian elaborated on this before. And this is why for our monitoring campaign within the project, we did not only measure the water quality parameters, but every monitoring group and within every monitoring field trip, there is also a hydrologist with them to also measure discharge and to be able to calculate the loads. And this is a very important key, which we can also emphasize here, because based on the discharge and the concentration, we can then calculate the load. And even on the dashboard, we are also reporting the discharge at the time of water quality measurement. And I fully agree that the loads are a key parameter to see how much soil and agricultural productivity is lost in a catchment or in Uganda or in a water management zone. So this is what we try to make sure of, that we capture also the load aspect within our monitoring efforts. Thank you. I submit.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel. Anyone else wants to submit any comments? All right. So I don't see any more questions, but some of the questions are about whether we will have the presentations available. And I think I will ask our technical team on how, if they will be online, or otherwise kindly please reach out to us directly, and we will share them with you. The ones that are possible to share through PDFs. Correct?
Yeah, we can definitely share them.
Yeah.
And I think, but maybe Gwendolyn knows, because I usually they also share the recordings of the whole webinar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we do. We do share the recordings.
Great.
Of the webinar, and the PowerPoint presentations that have been shared, if it is okay with the presenter. And Francis is always going to be sharing. Whoever has attended and whoever registered will be able to get it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Gwendolyn, for that information. So I think, are there any questions from the online audience? Good. I don't see any more questions. I hope I didn't miss any from the chat. If there are no more questions, let me see. I will pass on. I will say thank you very much, but I'll first pass on for the final goodbyes to Commissioner Lillian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you everyone for sparing your valuable time to join this webinar. I hope you have learned something, and the take homes from the presenters' views were presented by was it Florian or Gabriel? But I really hope you have your own take-home messages from this webinar, and we look forward to fruitful interactions even during the final workshop of the project. But you have our email addresses if there are any further information you want to get from the project. Then you can get in touch with the National Focal Point Officer, as I mentioned before, and we'll be able to assist in any way we can. So thank you very much for attending. God bless you.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you very much. I want to thank you everyone as well for the presentations and the questions and for your participation. I think we can now close the webinar, and we look forward to see you next time, and possibly in September in Uganda as well.
Thank you, Paula, for moderating.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Thank you.
And Gwendolyn and Francis, yes, for organizing the webinar.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
Thank you.
We shall have another webinar by the end of May. Thank you for attending, and thank you, Water Quality and partners for this. Bye-bye. Nice weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.